Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Hello, and welcome wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. You're tuned in to Conscious Radio Networks, the Seance Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, please click like, subscribe, comment, and don't forget, of course, follow us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Today, just a little bit of a disclaimer. Some content may be sensitive to some listeners. May. So, particularly those under 18. Maybe. So, listener discretion advised. Our guest today, how do you pronounce your first name? Sadie?
Sadie, yes.
Sadie, there you go. I'm perfect. Sadie Bess is a sacred sexuality guide, energy healer, and founder of Sacred Sensual Alchemy. With over 18 years of experience, she helps individuals reclaim their sexual energy for creativity, empowerment, and spiritual growth, specializing in balancing the sacred feminine and masculine. Saidi guides others towards deep self-love and the authentic connection. Let's welcome to the seance, Sadie Bess. There is an audience.
Nice, I love it.
So, what is sacred sensual alchemy?
Love it. Let's see. For me, what that means is really the alchemy between the sacred feminine and sacred masculine energies that we all are made up of, right? Even regardless of what body we're showing up in, we each have feminine and masculine energy. And the alchemy of those two and how it shows up in us and how we can work with those energies to really create so much, create our reality, create our relationships, create our experience of this world. That's the alchemy. And the sensual is because we're in these amazing human bodies, right? And we're here on this planet, we're in the 3D, which is a sensual experience, meaning our senses, right? Not just sensual in like sexual sensual, but sensual in, sight, sound, touch, hearing, smelling, everything, the way that we experience this world. And sacred, I use that word to just bring a little more emphasis on, the spiritual aspects of what I'm doing and this type of alchemy. I talk about sacred sexuality a lot, and it's very different when you talk about sexuality versus when you put the word sacred on it. It really changes everything and how you relate to that. And you start questioning, well, what does that mean? Right. So it's just puts a whole different spin on it. So hence sacred sensual alchemy. So thanks for asking that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And 18 years in this, what got you started in this field?
Wow. I've just always been a very sensual person, and that, actually kind of got me in trouble in the beginning, back in my teenage years, because monogamy wasn't really my thing, but that was the model that I was given. So not knowing how to communicate or understand my desires and interests, I got in trouble and created some havoc for myself. And through that journey, just learning the importance of communication and the belief systems we've taken on around what relationships are supposed to look like, what our sexuality is supposed to look like, how we're supposed to express ourselves, what is shunned and shamed and perverted and distorted. And so I just got really passionate about supporting us all to come into a healthy sexuality and really learn what that even is for ourselves. We don't even know what healthy sexuality is, right?
Yeah.
And that was, for me, like going on that journey, I tried on a lot of different things that people said was healthy, like, oh, your libido should be like this, you should want to do this, your body should react in this certain way. And, you know, taking that on and then that not working and go, oh my gosh, there must be something wrong with me, right? So then I realized, like, wow, I'm taking on just different belief systems that still aren't serving me. You know, what is my sexual expression? What are my desires? How do I want to connect with another person? And what is natural for me, not what is natural versus, you know, depending on what that one person said, you know.
Yeah.
You want sex 3 times a week, or you should connect in this way. Your body should be reacting this way. It's like, well, no, we're all very different, right? Very different.
Yeah. And it seems too, we're not taught that growing up. That this is a subject that is really, needless to say, it just seems to be taboo in Western culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I've been to other countries, and it's like it's everywhere. I mean, sometimes they billboard it. You know, it's in print in most places that you wouldn't see it here. It's so hidden and taboo here in the States or in Western society in general. What are your thoughts about that? And maybe some change?
When you just said billboard, I was just in Los Angeles, and there was billboards of women, like OnlyFans pages, you know, like they were advertising themselves, right? So we have sexuality actually all over the place. It's just a very distorted view of it, and it's just only this one kind of version of it, right? Hypersexualized. So we get very distorted around that. So sex is everywhere. I mean, they use it to sell cars, to sell, you know, anything, right? I mean, and in Hollywood and movies, I mean, so sexuality is everywhere. It's just really weird and distorted and hypersexualized, right? So it's not a natural. And again, this is where we go wrong, thinking like, oh, that's what it should look like. And if I'm not reacting like that, if I'm not, you know, if I don't look that way, if I don't behave that way, if my body doesn't respond in that way that I'm seeing in these movies or seeing on billboards, right, then something's wrong. So that's, you know, like just a more natural sexuality is not what we see here, you know. And again, it's just that one model we've been given too as monogamy in marriage, right? Like that's, you find that one person, you save yourself until that moment, and then you live happily ever after, and it's all, you know, rainbows and unicorns, which most people know that's not the case, right? That's not real. That is not the reality. So,
I definitely stand corrected as far as like the taboo in Western cultures. Like you said, sex sells, and they in advertising, TV, movies, in the marketplace, in commerce. Yes, it just seems to be that it's being used the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what are your thoughts in changing? Like, I don't know. I don't know how how would they mildly put that? How would, you know, they definitely need a market study. Yeah.
It's so funny. I hold a monthly discussion group where we, you know, talk about sexuality and we talk about these types of things. And one of the things that came up this last week, we were, you know, I brought in a couple of movie clips to look at, like, let's discuss Hollywood and the sexuality we see in these movies and how that can really distort our experience. And so we looked at a couple of things and then really just picked it apart. But then we're just like, well, yeah, because it does sell, right? These crazy over the top sex scenes that are over in like two seconds, right? both of them were like 3-minute long clips, but that wasn't even like from the beginning to the end of the act. But most of that, I mean, it was still like, it was really short and just like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But then we were talking about like, well, how do we change this? How do we start like bringing in different scenes into a movie that's showing a more healthy connection? And I'm sure they're out there, right? But the norm is not that, right? It's fast paced, really hot, passionate, just like tearing clothes off and going for it. And then like, what, but, so yeah, how do we start, bringing other models into this situation? And I mean, there's definitely more consciousness being raised around our sexuality. So, we'll probably start seeing that hopefully here soon.
Yeah. So explain the work that you do with the clients, how you work with the clients, and in what ways, what's the common goal that a client is looking for, and what seems to be the issue now, what seems to be the
a lot of what we're looking at is unpacking unhealthy belief systems that we've taken on that really get in the way of connecting in those, healthy, passionate, sexy ways that we want to connect with each other. There's just a lot of shame around our sexuality. There's a lot of performance anxiety and issues. There's a lot of just not knowing how to communicate and talk to another person. There's people that just really don't even know what their desire is, right? Because they haven't done the self-exploration. They've taken on a lot that they've picked up again from society, like we're talking about. A lot of people getting into those long-term relationships without having any discussion around it beforehand, and just assuming it's all going to work out fine. And then eventually, it doesn't. And then there's just a bigger pulling apart, a disconnect from the partner. And then resentment and bitterness builds up. And, oh, if only she wanted more sex, if only he was doing it like this, but nobody's talking. And there's just getting more and more upset. And then eventually, years go by and there's been no physical connection. And, the physical connection and affection is a really important piece of relationships. And again, it doesn't have to be a long-term relationship. Another thing, like belief systems are, like I mentioned earlier, what does a relationship, what's it supposed to look like? And we've been given this model of monogamy, one person forever. So, and people don't question it because it's just what we've grown up in. It's like, well, does that really work for you? Actually, is that really supporting you? Is that your truth? And until we start, diving into that and picking it apart, we don't know. So it's a lot of self-exploration and, looking at what we've taken on, looking at our connection with our bodies, getting very present in our bodies. Our sensuality and sexuality tends to be very mental. We're up here in our heads and we're totally disconnected from our body. We're not even actually feeling pleasure. We're very outcome oriented, got to get that orgasm. And so we're not even present for most of the experience. It's just about, am I going to get there? Right? Am I getting the other person there? And then, so we're missing so much of it. So there's a lot of those issues that so many of us come in with. And so that's what I'm supporting people around, to just really get to know themselves and learn how to communicate and share. Once they learn who they are and what they want, how do you share that with another person? Right.
Yeah.
And for me, it's very much about, it's a very spiritual, it's the spiritual path. I think our sexual energy is our life force. It's our vitality. It's our creativity. So when I'm talking about sexual energy, I'm not just talking about, sexual encounters. I'm talking about that energy that we put into projects, that we use to create with, that we, pour into any of our heart-based, whatever it is that we're putting out into the world. So once we open up these blockages that we have, these energetic blockages. I do energy healing. That's a big part of what I do. When we open up these blockages and allow that energy to flow, our creativity comes in, our passion for life, our vitality, our life force just starts flowing, and it moves into all areas of our life, right? Not just this one piece. So that's a really important important piece of this, of what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
it's really an inner journey first, because until we do all the healing for ourselves and come into a greater balance with our own feminine and masculine energy, we can't possibly have a good, healthy connection with somebody else. And we need to find other people that are doing the work as well, right? And want to be in this kind of level of, self-love and self-mastery and empowerment. And it doesn't mean that we're all going to get there before we have a relationship, as long as we're involved with people that are also interested in doing the work and picking apart those things, those beliefs that aren't supporting us. So a lot of times I'll see partners, like a long-term relationship, and somebody's really interested in doing the work and working on the issue, and the other person just isn't, right? And that, you just can't make that work, I mean, you just can't. So, but you can't force another person to want to change either. So, right.
True.
So that can be, the beginning of the end for things. So yeah.
I can imagine that it's not only at an individual level, but at a couple's level, how difficult and tricky it is for either both or singly to kind of come forward and seek this type of help. It's more out of, I would assume, embarrassment. He's like, I don't want to go talk to an expert in this. We need to, deal with this as ourselves and stuff. Do you see couples kind of like coming in, one's kind of opposed to it, but then they kind of warm up to it. They're like, oh, wow. Okay. Now I see it. And they grow on it, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't really work with couples. Actually, it tends to be individuals. And maybe that will come at a point, and that's, I guess, why I've seen mostly is one person is interested in working in it with it and the other isn't. And one person will take back what they're learning to the other person and try to share, but it tends to be, again, if both people aren't into it.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had couples show up to work with in that way. So yeah.
Not yet. I see it coming soon.
Exactly. Not yet. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, having some sort of like a retreat, a couples retreat or something like that. Those, that way they can experience, then communicate.
Absolutely. And yeah, my big passion right now is leading people on pilgrimage to sacred sites on the planet to really connect with those powerful energies, to work on clearing energy and opening up our energy and supercharging us. So so that is definitely coming. I've led one and I'm building more, so yeah, stay tuned for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before we move on, where can people find you? And I will bring up your website there.
Great.
Boom. So for those who are watching, they can see
There
it
it is.
scrolling at the bottom. But for those who are listening, where can they find you?
Great. sacredsensualalchemy.com. And I'm on Instagram as Sacred Sensual Alchemy. YouTube, I have a lot going on my YouTube channel. There's so much there to support people in their process and really help open it up for them. And that is Sacred Sensual Alchemy as well. So pretty easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this topic has been around for centuries. It's not millennia. Right. And it all started, I got an ancient book. Well, the book's not ancient, but the art is ancient. Kama Sutra, tantric exercises, is that also something that can, not only for, the sacred sexual or sensual and stuff like that. I've heard that, it helps open up the Kundalini. It helps balance the, your root, sacral, and solar plexus. What are your thoughts on using different tools, using the sexual energy, sacred sexual, sensual energy, to open up and help balance the rest of the body?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all about it. Right. And that's what, hence the energy healing that I offer. And I have breathwork videos. That's a really powerful way to open up. When we're all blocked, I mean, that's when our energy isn't flowing. Right. So yeah, any practices that we can do to really, the energy is key. Right. That was the game changer for me once I started working with energy, and it just drastically shifted my whole experience. We don't really realize that we are energetic beings, right? We are made of energy. And when we're all blocked up and it doesn't flow, everything is just a big old mess, right?
Yeah.
We're just in so much resistance to life and to the world. And when we start working with that and opening it up, it's a game changer. It's a total freaking game changer. So yeah, breath work is key. And that is just so freaking easy, right? I mean, everyone can do this. Meditation, although that depends on what kind of meditations you're doing. There's so many out there, but the energy healing is powerful, really powerful. So yeah. My training is in authentic Tantra, which was not anything about sexuality. You know, in the Western world, it's turned into some, you know, like Neo Tantra is more about, you know, how to have a bigger orgasm, right?
Yeah.
And you can certainly harness your energy to support that. And I'm all about it. That's great. But, you know, authentic Tantra is more, it is a lot of energy practices, working with mantra, with sound and vibration and frequency. And it's working with our energy body. And that just, you know, it's kind of spreads out because everything's connected, right? Body, mind, spirit. So when you're working with those practices, everything just tends to open up. So, so yeah, the Neo Tantra, I think, can be helpful as long as you're finding good, reputable teachers that are, know what they're doing, right? Yeah. Because this is part of why I don't teach techniques, you know, how to have a bigger orgasm, because I was just having this conversation with somebody recently. Like, if your mind is all heavy with weird belief systems and you're not able to communicate and you're not in your heart and in your body, that bigger orgasm is not going to solve your problems, right? It just isn't. So until you've done the work, I mean, that will come, but to focus on that or do it all together at the same time, but don't just like hyper focus on technique, because that's not going to get you that, what you're ultimately seeking, which is a back to source, right? It's a back to oneness is what we're ultimately longing for in these connections. And that needs to come first and foremost with ourselves. And then we can share it with another. But it's not about that bigger orgasm. That's actually quite empty without all the heart and soul in it, right?
It's the journey. It's the journey through the process. And it's enjoying the process. Not the outcome, like you said before. It's not about the outcome. It's about the journey.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have are there any breakthrough stories that you have witnessed through some clients without giving any personal details of anybody and stuff like that, that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I have a 12-week program that's just been a real game changer for some people that go through it. It just really picks apart, you know, all the belief systems we've taken on, and not just around sexuality or sensuality, but just around how to live a human life. And again, the type of relationship, the trajectory of a life, the type of career, going to school, doing all these things. And we follow this model we've been given, and without questioning, and we just assume it's going to work for us, right? And then we get there and we're like, what? I'm not happy at all. So people that go through this program, like, they've just, you know, dropped careers that they've had for a very long time. They, you know, just total life-changing things, because they finally understand and see, like, wow, yeah, I took that on and it actually isn't me. It doesn't serve me. I shut myself down a long time ago. And now who am I underneath all of this stuff? Who am I? What are my values? What truly speaks to me? What is my passion? Am I in alignment with that? Wow, no. Okay, so how do I get into alignment? And then they discover, like, when they get clear on it and get conscious of it, then they get to decide how they actually want to live their lives. And then that comes with real drastic changes. And those changes kind of will just start happening. It's really interesting, how it all works, how the universe works. But so yeah, I've seen people just like totally leave careers and then new things show up in their place once they get more in their heart and get more in alignment with their, soul purpose and their calling, or just even just to start the process, because not everyone like figures it out right away, right? But now they know now what they don't want, what doesn't work. So yeah, there's just been just powerful shifts for people. It's been amazing. And just the huge aha moments. I love it. I love watching people just go like, oh my gosh, right? And then just like, wow, I can do this differently.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing when you start opening up these energy centers that people didn't realize they were blocked, and
Right.
your vibration changes, your energy and vibration changes, and now you're emanating in a different frequency, and everything around you has the potential to change. Everything, different
That's
friends,
exactly.
different
Yeah.
job, different hobbies,
Right.
everything.
Yeah, for sure. And this program comes with, because the energy piece is so huge, right? You can, write some affirmations, and I don't know, it's just, you need to change it in energetic level, like you were just saying, because that's where the real change is. So this program there's 10 energy healing sessions, and we start at the bottom chakra and work our way up. So by the time you're done at this, you have an entirely new energy body, and you've cleared all this stuff mentally, and now you have a new connection to your spirituality, because it's very much about how do we connect with our own authentic spirituality, not what we've been, again, handed by these traditions we've grown up in that have really disconnected us from our own divinity and from source. But, so it's coming back within, and yeah, what is spirituality to me? How do I connect to my own divinity? What is that? And then, so yeah, by the end of this program, it's just like, people get into it and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I had no idea it was going to be like this. I'm like, that's why I call it an intensive program.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Is there a balance between men and women that are doing this, or is it mostly female to male, or what seems to be the
No,
percentage?
it's starting to. I've gone through different shifts in my career, and so I've worked with more predominantly women around like a lot of intergenerational trauma and healing those types of wounds. A lot of especially around like just violence perpetrated against women for thousands of years, right? So, I mean, it's no wonder we're disconnected sexually, right? It's been kind of a nightmare. So, and then moving back into working more with men, and then just recently, I've just like, okay, let's bring it all together. We have so much to learn from each other. So just really in the last 6 months, I've just revamped everything. Like, okay, let's bring it all together now. So hence probably why I haven't worked with couples yet, because I'm just kind of moving into that realm. So now it's starting to balance out more. Yeah.
Now you also have, looking at your website, you also have a podcast, don't you?
I have a YouTube channel. I don't have my own podcast yet. I am excited about that though.
Yeah. Then you got your programs, the 12 you said it's 12 week 12-week program.
Yeah.
All right, 12-week program, and then the events are like the retreats and stuff like that.
Yeah, the events right now, I have a lot of monthly events going on to support people, on their path. And like the discussion circle that I have monthly, that's just a great place to come together and talk about this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So each month has a different topic, and we just kind of dive in and explore. And I'm not trying to be the expert on anything in this setting. It's just like, let's just talk about this stuff, because we haven't had a space for that. So it's very free flow and comfortable, and I'm just trying to create a real safe container where people can have these discussions, right? And we can learn from each other too. And especially important for men to be able to hear from women, and women to be able to hear from men around sexuality in a really safe place where it's not, isn't necessarily with your partner, where you've already got some, triggers and some history there. So this is just, it's awesome. It's awesome. And then a dance meditation to help us get into our bodies, because a lot of us are disconnected from our bodies and feeling really shy and, awkward. So this is you can do, it's a dance meditation. It's guided through, and you can be off screen or on. You can connect with others in this way, or just have a space where you can get into your body in a sensual way and be off screen. So that can be really safe for people too, but it's a container that's held. But it's so beautiful to watch people on screen too, just be in their bodies and be in themselves, it's like, it's so cool. And these are some new events, so they're opening up, but it's been great so far. And then a monthly energy healing session that is just an amazing price point to introduce people to my work and to distance healing if they're new to it. It's kind of a new concept for a lot of people. So, and I focus on the sacral chakra pretty much every month. So, because that's the seat of our sexual energy, and it's just, that's a really powerful session. People are digging that one. So, and it's a group session, and so it's just great. But yeah, really cool.
And this is not only this is online or remote, not only always in in person, and
all online. Yeah. Yes.
Huh. Cool. What seems to be the most common block that stops people from embracing their sexual energy for either for creativity, empowerment, so forth, so on?
I think, again, it's the belief systems we've taken on, but that I think I can dial down a bit more. There's just a lot of guilt and shame, a lot of guilt and shame that people have taken on, having grown up in this society and in families that didn't communicate about it, and things that we've taken on from what we've learned that just aren't really healthy, right? So, but and it's really coming down into the body, and a lot of people, again, I know I've said it a few times, are really disconnected and really mental about what they're doing, or really lost in fantasy, or just not able to be present with themselves or with another. And this is indicative of how we do life, right? We're not present here in life. So of course, it tends to be how we do one thing is how we do everything. That's why, sexuality is my in, but my in for the spiritual path, but it's all the same thing, right? It's just one more avenue into our spirituality and our spiritual connection, and coming into self-love, loving our bodies, loving our experience here on this planet, embracing our experience here on this planet. So there's, self-love. So many people just don't love themselves and don't love their sexual expression, or they
don't. It's like they losing a common loss of the respect for their own body, or just how they look. They just don't like the skin they're in, so to speak.
Absolutely. Right.
I would also assume too that maybe you could validate this, that I think that I would feel that we would be struggling more as a collective in this field because of technology. The cell phones, the computers, the technology, the job. There's so much else going on out here that's keeping us focused rather than being inside, being in the body, and being with another person. Basically, our social skills are dying because of technology.
Right? Yes. Yeah, I've been hearing that too, where people just, like younger people, aren't necessarily connecting as much with each other. Because of that. And it was specifically on a podcast called Man Talks. He was talking about, young men just not asking women out, not knowing how to do all of that, and just staying in their room behind a screen and, kind of disconnected. So, and then I've heard that a few other times where it's just like, oh, okay, I hadn't really thought about that, but now it's out there. And, so that makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
It's like a craft. It's almost like a craft that needs to be reintroduced back into society. It's just how to go on a date, what to do, what not to do.
Right. And this is funny because you brought up like other countries before, and my experience here in America, men don't usually try to approach me or, hit on me or whatever, or ask me out. And they don't want to be that guy, right? They've been kind of demonized in a way where it's just like, oh, they don't want to seem aggressive or assertive or too sexual or too interested. They don't want to be offensive. They don't want women to get upset. So there's been a real horrible dynamic that's been created over, the decades with different movements and different, not intentionally to create that, but it's been a weird side effect and an after effect. And that's really sad. That's really sad. The last relationship I was in, we had been seeing each other at the same place for like a year before anybody like approached each other. And it was finally me that had to say something, right? Because he said he didn't want to be that guy. He didn't want to, seem like that person. I'm like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get anywhere if we're all like doing that? Yeah. But then I went to Europe, and oh my gosh, just from the minute I got off the plane, I mean, there was no doubt that people were interested and they were ready to approach me, and some did, right? It was a completely different energy. Like the men had no hangups around that, right? They were just like, but it wasn't a big deal. It was really interesting, very interesting. Like, whoa. So that's what it feels like for somebody to, hit on me again. Like, wow, okay, that's nice.
I'm kind of wondering if it's got anything to do, the political atmosphere that's been going on, and not to get political, but I've heard it on the radio, I've heard it on the news and other discussions on radio, talk radio, of this term that's been thrown around, toxic masculinity.
Oh gosh,
and the demasculation of the male in Western society. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh yeah, no, I talk about that a lot, the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine, because it's interesting that men are going through this because there's been so much around the feminine, right? Like she has been totally repressed, demonized, vilified, the whore, she's the originator of sin, right? It's all been the female's fault. And so she's been really shunned and shamed. And now you can't have it both. You can't have it just one way, right? Now the men are experiencing what that is like in their own flavor, and they're feeling demonized and vilified. And it's just like, and that's a huge piece of what I work with people. And that's where the guilt and shame comes in, because women are taking it on, men are taking it on. And that's why we need to get underneath all of this stuff, these weird beliefs and this weird toxic energy that isn't, it's just not one. It's just now a product of our society and the imbalance of the masculine and feminine that's been going on for so long. I mean, thousands of years now. And this is a byproduct, right? And now nobody wants to approach anybody. I mean, it's all a mess. It's a freaking mess, which is what I'm so passionate about us exploring. And let's get in there. And when we're in our power, none of that shit is going to affect us, right? None of that is going to be a thing, because we're going to know our truth. We're going to be in our hearts. Everything we do is coming from a heart-based place, not Not that we're all love and light and that, but we're going to know ourselves. We're going to know our values. We're not going to worry. We're not going to need to worry about how we're approaching somebody, because we're going to know ourselves, right? And we're going to know our intention. And if the other person is doing their work and they're in their power, they're not going to have to be in a fear-based place either, right? So we're all coming from this fear, and that's what that's my big thing, moving from a fear-based way of living into a heart-based way of living.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But it's systemic now. It is not just gender-based. It's not one. We're all feeling it. And now it is interesting to, not like a tit for tat, but it's like, now the men are experiencing exactly that same. It's horrible, right?
Yeah.
It's just a mess. It's a big old mess.
And it's so awkward. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
I do not remember any of this type of energy, but and it's like recent. It's like within the last 5 years, if not sooner than that. But it's like very awkward.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you said, systemic, but it's like what's that? I'm trying to think of the word. Contagious. Like when someone yawns, you have to yawn. It's kind of like that. You don't realize you're doing it or emulating it, but it's weird. It's like,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's in the collective right now, but I think it's a good thing. Now we can look at it and really, get into it, right? Just do that healing work.
Yeah. You see this, the work that you do getting more popular, on more of a demand within especially in the last 18 years compared to when you first started, more of a demand on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And more so. Yeah. I've just been on the fringes, right? So, but now people are, getting a lot more conscious about sexuality, starting to, it's little bits, but even just being able to be here and have this conversation, right? I mean, that's just amazing. Yeah. Things are
it's all about health, healing, getting better, eating healthy, raising the vibration. That's what this show is all about.
Yep. Yeah, we're talking about energy now. I mean, that's freaking awesome. We have a whole new way to understand our reality and relate to our reality. So sexual energy is huge. We're sexual beings, right?
Yep.
That's just really the baseline of us, right? I mean, it's how we got here.
In order for our species to survive and continue, procreation is the most important thing.
Yeah,
but that healthy relationship too is also important. So because that energy carries over to the other generation.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
What's your thought? What's your view on diet, having the right diet and eating the right things? What are some toxic foods compared to some healthier foods?
It's funny you asked that, because in my program, like, that's just the very first week is like, let's get into nutrition, because it's like, well, that's not very sexy. It's like, but that's your baseline, right? That's your baseline, and that is energy. So if you're putting in unhealthy food, you're going to have an unhealthy experience. I mean, it's no judgment. It's just the way energy works. It's like, sorry people, but it just does, and you can, don't take my word for it, find out for yourself, cut out a couple of those things and see what happens. I am always encouraging people, just give it 30 days. I can't quit gluten. I can't quit this. I can't quit whatever. Like, well, okay, do it for 30 days and just see if there's any shift. And if there isn't, your gluten's not going anywhere, right? It's going to still be there. Your Pop-Tarts, your whatever, it's just all this processed sugar food. And it's so much sugar. And people just don't even understand what it's doing to them until they omit it. And again, do it for 30 days. If nothing changes, great. You don't have to worry about whatever it is you're eating, but I'll bet that things are going to change. And if you're having erectile dysfunction issues, looking at diet and nutrition is one of the very first places. I've seen people turn that around just by cutting a few things out, right?
Especially processed sugar.
Yeah.
That I feel is a conspiracy.
It is.
Sugar is more addictive
Yep.
than any other drug out there,
Yeah.
legal
Yeah.
or
Oh, it's
illegal.
nuts.
It
It's
doesn't,
nuts.
wow. And it makes
Yeah.
the body so acidic
Yeah.
that
Oh my gosh. Right?
nothing can operate correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing.
And it just whacks out everything. Yeah. Again, everything I do is about body, mind, and spirit. You can't just work on one. You can't just work at the spiritual level. You can't just work at, the mind. You've got to bring it all together. And we really have to start treating our bodies better and getting very conscious of what we're putting in. And people are starting to, they really are. It's so beautiful. But that was a huge part of my journey, like recognizing like my body shut down. It just wouldn't. I was sick for some years because
Wow.
it had to recalibrate. It's like, you can't do this anymore. And I got down to where I could only eat like lettuce. It was lettuce, ground beef, and tomato, which is the weirdest
Wow.
thing, but I couldn't eat anything but that for months. It was really strange. I would get so sick and my body just had to recalibrate. I know that's a strange diet, but it's just all it could handle. And then all the toxic, like chemical things and perfume. I used to love to wear perfume. Now no perfume. Scented products, nothing like that. My body's like, no. But now I'm so grateful, right? I mean, this is why so many people are sick and have so much disease, is all of this toxic stuff. So now I'm thrilled. I mean, the wisdom of the body. But don't wait till you get sick for years. Oh my gosh, we can make these healthy choices right now. So yeah,
Stay away from processed foods.
Yeah.
Do your grocery shopping solely in the produce department.
Right.
And you're nowhere else.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's huge. And that's really going to affect your sexuality. And it's like for women's health and men's health, just our bodies. Yeah, we need healthy food.
And I've learned it in many different ways too. It wasn't within the last 4 years. And for instance, like as an example, when I had my first and last, it was my first and my last ayahuasca retreat. I literally had to cut everything out, everything, everything, caffeine, nicotine, sex, everything. I mean, so much stuff. You had to go really clean. No coffee. No, I mean, I'm like, what can I eat? What? Is there anything else out there? But when I realized how important it was for the retreat and for the actual experience and the application of the medicine,
right,
or any plant medicine, rather, is being clean. Everybody else in the circle was sick the entire time. I mean, vomiting most of the time.
Right.
I did not throw up once.
That was my experience too. Everyone else was just like purging major. And I'm so grateful that I didn't. I'm like, oh, thank you.
And my friend, which was the shaman, she's like, because you did it right. You did it right. No alcohol, no. Wow. And since then, no alcohol. I don't drink. I don't smoke. No beef, no pork. Basically a pescatarian type diet and clean. Very, very little processed foods, and it does change your energy.
It so does. Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. So before we wrap it up, what would you like to offer our audience as a takeaway? Some words of wisdom.
What's coming through is like, you just don't even know how powerful you are, right? We have so much power, and some of these things that we've been talking about today, just making some real simple choices and different choices can be life-changing. And and what's coming through is love yourself. Love yourself enough to take a chance on some of these things, and if something is speaking to you, don't question it, right? Follow. There's so many ways that we shut down our intuition and our inner guidance and let our minds take over and worry about what people might think, or I don't know, something. Anytime we're going out of our norm, pushing back on ourselves, it can be uncomfortable, but that's where the growth is. And so listen to those inner promptings, listen to your heart, start learning to trust it more. They are so powerful. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, where can people find you?
sacredsensualalchemy.com, and on YouTube, Sacred Sensual Alchemy. I really invite people to come check out my channel. There's so much there. It's very fun.
Definitely. I subscribed today.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. And come to my community events, my monthly events. They're priced so beautifully, and just so there's no reason to not be there and explore these topics and just really come together around all of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely. Saidi, namaste, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And helping society get back on being your true, authentic self. Right. It's not always about sex, but it is the gateway. It is a gateway of opening up the rest of the energy.
Yes. Beautiful. Yeah, and it's the inner sensual, right? That masculine and feminine within. That's what true Tantra is about. It's the union within. So beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for watching Conscious Radio Network's The Seance podcast. And until then, we will see you next time.